Hey, Ma. Plant has been watered.
You see, no, you sit here. Have your seat, maybe.
No, I bite.
Well, I'll send it.
Okay. All right, thank you for coming back. It's our second week of Parsha preview. Just for our scheduling, next week, Thursday, we're going to be off. We're going to take a break because of the holidays. Okay, Parshas Toldos. Here we go. So there's two main ideas that I'd like to try to get at, if we can. But let's begin. This parsha is very, it touches at my core because I am a twin. No idea if we're identical. Right, Dad? We don't know if we're identical or not. Correct. But we are confirmed. Both Yaakovs, two Yaakovs, hopefully. Although by my Shavah Brachos, somebody's compared me to Esav and my brother Kiva to Yaakov. Remember that? You remember that? It wasn't you, no. It was, yeah. That's it.
You made a mistake too.
No problem.
You're going to give us your 2 weeks?
Admir Tashem, yeah.
All right,
Okay, be well. Have a good night. Thank you. Oh, maybe that's what it is?
It's not red.
Oh, I have a little red in there.
I don't know.
A little something. Okay. So let's go straight to Parak Chav Hey Pasuk Chav Bey. So this week's parsha, Yitzchak and Rivka, they're praying. They both go to the corners and they're praying for children. All of a sudden, Hashem gives them children. Well, they don't really know that yet. They think it's just one in the womb, but it's like an iffy, wishy-washy type of child, and that's what Rivka's afraid of. How can I have this child? Everybody, like, how can this child be going? When I passed by the house of Torah study and prayer, he's trying to leave, and then when we're going by a house of idolatry, the baby's also trying to leave. Like, child, you have to make up your mind. You can't, right? The Rambam says to live in a derech mamutza, middle ground, but this child is going in extreme in either direction. So she was nervous for her life. She was nervous for the kid. She did what a good Balabasta does, what a good Rebbitzin does, what a good Yiddish Mama does, that she goes to seek HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She goes to seek advice. Okay, so this is where we get, I don't want to say stuck on, but this is where we're going to get stuck on just over the course of the next few minutes. And that is the Pasuk Chav Hey Chav Beis 25-22. Vayisotzu habana b'kirba. They were struggling inside. Vayisotzu is a verbiage of rutz, like to run, or rutzon, right? And it's a good description of what we say before we go into base measures. We say anu ratzim v'heim ratzim, or we say by a siyum too, right? Mm-hmm. Right, by a siyum we say it. Anu ratzim v'heim ratzim. There's two types of runnings, and that's exactly what was going on internally inside. And there was a running towards Ra and a running towards Tov, which is the one that prevails. Ultimately, V'rav Ya'avo Tzayer, the younger one, or the older one rather, will serve the younger one, meaning Yaakov will ultimately prevail. It's the ruts towards Kedusha, the ruts towards Tahara, ruts towards a life of meaning. That's what's going to ultimately win out. But let's focus on Rashi for a moment. Okay, so Rashi says like this. I made, if you notice inside, I made a few of the words large, and you'll see why. So Rashi tells us, Kishahaisa oiveres al pischei Torah shel shem ve'ever. When she would, oiveres, how would you translate oiveres? As like passing by, right? By the pischei Torah shel shem ve'ever. Which, by the way, if you look at another Rashi in our Parsha, he just says the base measures of shame. He doesn't say aver. But if you look at another Rashi in the Parsha, he says shame and aver. So it's interesting where you focus on different psukim, where Rashi says sometimes it was shame, sometimes it was aver, sometimes it was both. Like by Yoshev Halim, by Yaakov says he was sat by both tents, although it's plural. Rashi says the base measures of shame and of aver, two separate ones. So shame was Shem ben Noach, and he was considered the Gadol Hadar. So while he was alive, that was the main place Yaakov would go. Once he died, he went to aver. There's different opinions how that works out, but it is interesting to point that out. Also, you see, just derech hagav, the importance of learning different types of limudim, having different. I mean, you could have one Rav, but in terms of being able to expand our horizons to explore different types of base measures, because you see Yoshev Halim, you see Yaakov went to the base measure Shel Shem, but he didn't stop there. He also went to the yeshiva of Aver as well to gain a different mahalach, a different perspective, which will help in the original mahalach as well. It's just like a I feel like it's a good lesson in its own right. But I want to focus on this Rashi. So when she would pass by the Torah and of Shem Ve'ever, so Yaakov rotz umefarches latzis. He would run. Umefarches means he would agitate. He would try to leave. But Oiveres al Pesach Avodas Alilim. But when she would pass by the entranceway of Avodas Alilim by the church, so then Esav mefarches latzis. Esav would agitate to leave. So notice that Rashi leaves out the word rotz by Esav. It doesn't say he ran. So he only says the word rotz by Yaakov. Ellie, good to see you. Yeah, please. Taking my welcome. Okay, that's question number one. I kid you not. This isn't a made-up thing. This question that I'm sharing with you right now is a question that I think I've had for over about 12 years, since I was in yeshiva. And this week, I found an answer to the question. And I'm going to share that with you. It's right here. It's on the back. It had its own its page. It's actually unbelievable. I was actually almost crying when I found it. Imagine over 10 years I had this question. So that's question number one. Okay? Number one is Rashi says rutz by Yaakov, but he leaves out the word rutz by Esav. Now, where's Rashi getting this from? He's not making it up. He's coming from the Medrash Rabbah. So go to number 2. If you look in the Medrash Rabbah 63, the Medrash tells us like this, a different story almost. It says, Bisha shahisa oimedes, when she would stand by the Batei Knesias and Batei Midrashos, first of all, notice two things. The Medrash tells us she was oimedes, she stood by the house of Torah. Rashi says she passed by Pischei Torah, the entrance. The Medrash says Batei Knesias. Okay, that's another diak. Then it says when she would stand by the Batei Knesias, Batei Midrashos, Yaakov meparches lates. Yaakov would agitate to leave. Notice the Medrash doesn't say rutz. Okay, uvishashe haya sa oiveres, but when she would pass by al batei avodas kachav, when she would pass by the churches, esav rutz umefarches lates. So the word rutz in the Medrash, the source, is used by Esav. When Rashi's quoting the Medrash, he misquotes it. He changes both times to Oiveres, and he puts rutz by Yaakov and rutz by Esav. Any takers? It's a Pella. Yeah.
I feel like it kind of makes sense within the words, like the answer would be, right?
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I'm saying Christian, but Oiveres means to pass by. So she was walking past it, so he had to run out to go get there. Meanwhile, Omedes means to stay in there, so he didn't have to run out. He just wanted to get out so he could stay there with her.
Beautiful.
Right? I mean, okay, that's what the words are.
That would yes, but that would answer the Medrash. That wouldn't explain why Rashi switches the rutz from Esav to Yaakov.
When she walked, when she was Oivera in the Medrash Rabbah, when she was Oivera about Chechavim, now Esav had to run because she was walking past it, so he had to run out and go get there. Same way how Yaakov had to run when she was Oiveres Pischei Torah. So she had to run out, and then when she was Oiveres Pesach Chechavim, when she was passing by, why doesn't he run there? I'm not sure. Maybe he didn't really want it. His Pintaliyid didn't really want it out.
Okay, we're good. You're onto something.
Which says sounds like both of them are running.
Well, it never says both of them are running at the same time. The Medrash says Esav ran, and the Rashi says Yaakov ran. In neither version does it say rutz by both of them. The pasuk says vayisotetsu, but in the version of Rashi and the Medrash, it's only rutz by one of them.
But what's Yitzusu sounds, it's plural though, isn't it?
It is plural, yeah.
So it's referring to both of them.
It is on some, on some level. They're on some level, but the way the Medrash is learning it is only one of them was rutz, and Rashi's also, but he switches it. Okay, so that's the question. But before we get to that, the answer. There's another question, and that's raised in number 3. It's a classic question that's asked: is how did Yaakov Avinu even get drawn towards the base medrash? He's in a womb. Like it's not about this question. It's like a fundamental question. Like how did he get drawn? First of all, he was already learning with Malach, right? He was learning.
Did Esav ever get convinced to go to the Avodah if he was with the Malach too? Was the Malach not teaching him?
Okay.
Did it have an impact on him? Like I don't get that.
Valid.
He wasn't running.
He wasn't learning.
Wasn't running.
Well, everyone learns. The Chassam Sofer says that the reason, what was Pshat, that why did he want to leave? He said because he was learning chavrusas with Esav. You have a chavrusa like Esav, of course you want to go to another yeshiva. That's what the Chassam Sofer says. So that's why Yaakov was trying to leave, because he couldn't stand his chavrusa. Now, right, the Chasam Sofer, at least the Lashon I saw, was im chavrusa kamo Esav, with a chavrusa like Esav. Of course, you don't want to go to another yeshiva. The way I understood that is, what do you mean? Like, it's his twin brother. Like he's not going to do the chavrusa breakup song on his brother. Like he's Yaakov Avinu, so it could mean this is a drash. I don't think it could be im chavrusa. With it, he wanted to do what was best for his chavrusa Esav. He realized that Esav needed a different yeshiva, and he was willing to go with him im chavrusa. Like he was going to go with Esav to the other yeshiva. Exactly. It's the way you learn Rashi. So, but either way, how did Yaakov have a draw? Yeah. His cup was there, right? Right. Valid point. Okay, so if you look at number 4, okay? Number 4 is from Rav Baruch Dov Povarsky, who's Rav Beryl. He's the same person as Rav Beryl Povarsky. He's like 93 years old. He's the current Rosh Yeshiva in Panovich. So he says, he quotes from Rav Yocham Levavitz, the Mashgiach of the Mir. He says, and I bolded it. This is number 4. He says, "Kamosha Metzinu bebria mitzpain." You know what a mitzpain is? A mitzpain is a compass. Anybody have a compass, by the way? I just thought, I figured for like. Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. You have one here, okay? It was a joke. I have one. Okay, so I have one here. Okay, so it's an incredible thing. It actually is mind-boggling that you have it. Let's say it points towards the north, but you're seeing in live time the Earth's magnetic field, right? So let's say, okay. So let's say you got Earth, okay? Okay, my wife and I just made this a couple days ago. It's 187 pieces, I think. It's a puzzle. Yeah, it's a 3D puzzle. Cool, right? So what happens is that inside of Earth, it is? Oh my gosh, you're right. I was wondering why I was feeling a little dizzy for a second.
How did you do the puzzle?
Right. So. Truth is in the grand scheme, it's true. Okay, so inside there's the Earth's core, which is molten, it's iron. Inside of the core is solid iron. The outer core is liquid iron. And because it's constantly moving inside, obviously the Earth's axis moving, but inside the core is moving, and it creates this magnetic field called the magnetic sphere, or something like that. What?
No, from the movie The Core.
I've never seen that movie. Yeah, I gotta see it. Okay, we gotta see that movie, I guess. What happens is that it creates this magnetic force field that looks kind of like this. So, I don't know, it looks kind of like a butterfly, but you have this outward motion. The irony is that, let's say you have the geographic North Pole and the geographic South Pole, which is like what we would call, the North Pole, or Antarctica is the South Pole, but on the top you have, what is the North Pole? Arctic? What? Canada, Arctic, yeah. So what's funny, if you have this magnet in the middle that's from the Earth, but what happens is, because there's the North Pole, North is attracted to South, which means that the magnetic South Pole is actually in the North, the geographic North. The geographic South Pole is the magnetic North Pole, because now North and South are attracted to the opposite one, which means that, ironically, the magnetic south field is actually on the top of Earth. It's in our geographic north. And I brought this also to show you that the magnetic field is not in the true north. It's like on a certain axis because of the way Earth is moving. It's not directly north, which means that anytime your compass shows you north, it's actually not. It's not the true North Pole. It's like could be a couple hundred. I think right now it's currently like 300 miles, like into Siberia. It's not actually mamish right on top, which it doesn't really have an nafkamina in our lives, but it's just cool to know. So, anyways, my point is. Here's that. My point is, sorry about that. Oh, here, I could roll it around. Okay. The point is, Rav Beryl Povarsky brings from Yerucham that says that there's a bria called a mitzpain. There's something called a compass, and it's an even hanimshach tamid l'tzav tzafon. It's the stone that's constantly drawn towards the north. It's an amazing thing. We're seeing the the magnetic pole right now, as we speak. The fact that it's moving, it's because of Earth's magnetic field. There's a real force that's happening. And he says, so too, inside of every single person, there's a tzad tov, and it's like a compass, or we call, I guess, a moral compass. Literally, it's that mitzvah that's pointing north. So even in the womb, he says, Yaakov Avinu, it was a natural inclination because he was so in touch with that tzad panimi, with that tzad tov, with that moral compass. So even in the womb, even while he was learning with the malach, he had this draw towards kedusha, and that's why every time his mother passed by a beis knesses or a beis medrash, he would be drawn towards it. I just wanted to point out, and if you look in the Mesilas Yesharim, he brings this famous mashal about Evan Hashayeves. It's in the first parak of Mesilas Yesharim. We're supposed to be drawn after Hashem, kabarzel acher Evan Hashayeves, like metal after a magnet. Like that. That's the Spitz relationship with us between Hashem. Is that we automatically get drawn towards him. It's just that if there's barriers in the way, then we can't get there. But we always have a pull towards the north, or towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, towards Kedusha, which is an amazing thing. And I actually saw, if you look at number 6, I'm going to just go through this quickly because it's just very cool. So the Gemara Megillah tells us about Italia Shalavan, which is Rome, which has to do with, right, with Esav. So it says, Tzido Echad Yam, one side is the sea, V'tzido Echad Harim Gvos, one side of this great city, Rome, is mountains, and Tzido Echad Mechitza Shel Barzel, one side is Mechitza Shel Barzel, and one side is Cholsis. And so if you look at Netzach Yisrael, the Maral says that this represents the 4 different directions. What does the sea have to do with the Marav? Because the sea by Rome, the west there was a sea. So same thing with Eretz Yisrael. To the west there's a sea. So that's why Yama Vekema, Yama, the sea is considered Marav, west. But if you look it's just cool to see it in the Maral's words. He says, V'davar ze yadua min even hamagnito. This is known because of he calls it a magnet. Sheshayeves habarzel, it draws barzel, iron. V'hu b'tzaf, when it's in the north, kasher nira l'chush ayin, like we see. So that's the nature of a magnet, is to be drawn towards the north. By the way, Rabbi Nachman says, if you look, he has Sefer Hamidos, and he says a segula to having children is to wear a magnet. So that's what he says, to wear a magnet. What's pshat? So the Gemara, I don't have a quote here, the Gemara in Brachos says that, well, I think the wife is supposed to wear the magnet. Yeah. Oh, maybe. But what's interesting is the Gemara says that, again, not everyone's choshish for Kabbalah, but the Gemara tells us the opinion that the bed is supposed to be positioned north to south. And then the Gemara says, it brings a pasuk from Tehillim, it says, Utzefuncha, from the north, you'll have children. I forgot the lashon inside David HaMelech, but you see that there's the positioning towards the north, and that would explain Rabbi Nachman's segula of what's the Indian of a magnet, because a magnet, by definition, it draws things. You want to draw down the shefa, that's the idea. He also says it's segula not to have a miscarriage. It's just an interesting thing that has to do with the magnet. Then I found in this sefer called Oila Liyafe. You can actually see a picture of him. He lived in the 1800s. His name was Rav Krieger, and he was a student of Rav Diskind, and he was a Rav in Massachusetts and Boston. And I found he has this line over here. He says there's the koach eish, the koach of fire, that's found in all of creation, and that fire, that drive that's found in all of creation is in Even HaShueves. It's a magnet. He calls it magnet moishech esokol. It's what draws everything. So it's this inner magnet that we all have, just like the world has a core that has that. The world itself functions with an inner magnet, and so to every single person, every single thing in Bria has a magnet that has the moral compass, that magnet that points towards Kedusha, that magnet that points towards Hashem, which is just a fascinating thing. But let's just end off to answer our question, and then we'll conclude. Question is, why does the Rashi switch the order? What's going on in the Medrash? What's going on in the Rashi? So here's the pshat. Ready for this? And this is the Sefer Kavod Chachamim is from a Sanzer Chassid who lived in also, I think it was the 1800s. So here's the Sefer. His name was Rechaim Knoller. And essentially what he says is like this. And the Aznaim L'Torah also says a similar idea. And you were saying it a little bit. Okay, you ready for this? Okay. So why was she a Medes? What does it mean she was Omedes? The Medrash says she was Omedes by Beis Knesses and Beis Medrash because that was her place of going. Like, of course she was Omedes. Omedes means like you're staying there. Like, this is my place to chill. Like, I want to be here. You tarry, you like go slower. She walked slowly past the Beis Medrash because that was her place to be. That's why the Medrash says Omedes, she tarried there. She lingered there. But by the Beis Avodas Galila, and by the church, Iveris, she went by quickly. So maybe for whatever reason, on her way, she couldn't avoid it altogether. That was the direction she had to go. You don't have to go, you don't have to avoid it, but Iveris, she would pass by quickly. And that explains why in the Medrash it says Rutz only by Esav. And that goes to your point, Ben, is that Yaakov Avinu, there was no need for him to run, because he was already there. His mother was Omedes, she was standing there in the shul. So there's no need for him to now run, because he's already there. But Esav, he wanted to be in the church. He wanted to be in the house of idolatry, but his mother was running away. She was Iveris, so therefore Rutz, he had to run after. That explains the Medrash. Okay, so what about Rashi? Rashi says Iveris and Rutz by Yaakov. So the way he answers it is that, because when you just read the Medrash, you would think, wow, look at Esav's passion towards Gashmias. He had a rutz. Not only was he mefarches, not only was he agitating, he had a deep rutzon, a tshuka, such a strong drive to go towards that. That is incredibly powerful for the kochos atoma. So you would think, okay, of course, Esav, like that's so spitz, he's going to win out. You would think when it came to Yaakov Avinu, he didn't have that same level of passion towards Ruchnius. So Rashi has to change it and says, no. Even the moments, even at the times when Rivka was a Veres past the shuls, even because maybe at certain times that she couldn't stay there, she was whatever, even at the times where Rivka was a Veres and she walked quickly past the shuls, guess what? Yaakov Avinu also was Rutz. Don't think that only Esav was Rutz towards Toma. Yaakov himself was also Rutz towards Kedusha. And ultimately, Rashi only tells, so the point is, Medrash and Rashi aren't arguing. They're just telling us different parts of the story. And Rashi's telling us what's going to be at the end of days. Ultimately, V'rav Yavut Sayer, Lo Met Yamo, it's only one, Chazal tells only one of them could be on top at once. Kishazet comes at Nofel. So at a moment when Esav and the Kochos Atuma are Rutz and they're in passion, then we're on the bottom. But at the time when Yaakov is Rutz, and he has that deep chukah, that deep drive towards Kedusha, towards going into the shul, towards a life being magnetized towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at that moment, it's impossible for Esav to run, because the drive of Yaakov running at that moment overpowers Esav's even potential to run. And what you see from here, it's widely seen inside. We're not going to do it inside, but what you see from here is that there is a certain, when a person is able to be Omedes in a Beis Medrash, whether he's in Kolol or something like that, it's an amazing thing. But you see that there was a stronger, Yaakov was stronger when he was Overes, because at the time that he was Omedes, it was impossible to get to a level of Rutz. You're already there, but it was moments of Overes where you're just passing by and he wanted to be there, right? Or he was busy working and he was taking care of his family, but that's where he wanted to be. That was his true ratzon. That was actually a greater koyach than actually being in the Beis Medrash, and that's what beat out the Rutz of Esav Harasha. So I thought that was a beautiful way to kind of put it in a tapestry, the Rashi and the Medrash. It kind of answered up a little bit of these loose ends. Now, why the Medrash says bate and Rashi says pische, it's still up for he actually answers it here, but it's still up for discussion a little bit, like why pische. You could argue, I was thinking that because maybe the entrance, like even just at the entrance, like you could make you don't have to already be in there. Yeah.
You walk past the pische at the front door, like you're walking past. I understand like an imagery. It's like, because when you're in Medrash,
oh, very good. Meaning, and Rashi's talking about both cases that you're Veres.
Parkgates Avenue, you see the first row. You're going
right. Very good. Very good. Right. That would explain it. Very nice, actually. Wow. Anyways, okay. Shikayach. That was the.
Modern Hebrew. What's conscious and not modern Hebrew is tzafon or something. Modern Hebrew.
What are saying? Oh, in Hebrew, tzafon is north.
So it's also conscious. Have a conscious is tzafon or something. Tzafon. I think it's.
Something hidden?
No, it's not hidden, it's also, have a, you don't know where it's in the system.
Safun Barich. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know right by the Haggadah we say, right? Safun Barich.
Yeah, that's north, I'm talking about also
Yeah.
like conscious, be conscious of.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, more people think it's to have
Cool.
conscious, to have a conscious, something to be conscious.
Okay, Hishka, thank you for coming. We'll take a break next week and continue in 2 weeks.
What